This is the Ring of Honor, a.k.a. Shane T, boy, the baddest champion you ever seen, boy.
This is Mr. Anderson.
This is good old JR Jim Ross, and you are listening.
You're listening to Knockouts and 3 Counts.
Cover! We got a new world champion!
That might be one of the craziest knockouts I've ever seen in my life.
Knockouts and 3 Counts is the podcast leading to the real deal, baby!
Knockouts and 3 Counts starts now.
Oh, what up? No, it is another Tuesday. This is Knockouts and 3 Counts. We've had the implosion of the Bloodline. We've had UFC 290, which, thank God, lived up to the hype, man. You had great fights down the line on that one. Shout out to Ruthless Robbie Lawler for winning me $50. And then, now we've got the announcement of Francis Ngannou versus Tyson Fury, and man, do I have some shit to say about that. Yeah, man.
Boy, wow. What a announcement today, right? It kind of took over the combat sports Twitter world and social media world. Pretty big announcement, man, but I think we all agree on the implications, possibilities. I'm sure we'll get into it, but yeah, big news.
Bro, yeah, dude. I respect the hell out of Francis Ngannou for taking the fight, but my initial thought to this has been the same all day, really, to be honest with you, in that I just look at PFL, right? And I mean, look, I enjoy all MMA. I watch all MMA, but here's my thing, right? So you just signed Ngannou to this big contract. What up? No! Speaking of the man of himself, Asa Potter, shout out to our sponsors, Potter's Tree Service. If you need, yes, sir, that's the man himself. Need to get your tree cut down, hit up Asa. Might come out looking like a lumberjack, but he'll get your job done. Like I said, Potter's Tree Service. Links are in the bio. Check him out. We'll have the logo up there in a second. But, yeah, shout out to the man himself. But, like I said, man, it's I respect the hell out of the fight, but I look at it from a PFL standpoint. When you look at this, now all the big names that PFL has signed since they've come out. You had Roy McDonald, lost. Anthony Pettis, lost. Verdum, lost. Bigfoot Silva, lost. Shane Burgos, lost. Now you get into this big contract thing with Francis Ngannou where he's guaranteed probably at least $3 million, and then you've got his opponent getting a minimum of $2 million. Now, look how much money that's going to put into that. What happens if Francis Ngannou just goes out here and gets fucking smoked by Tyson Fury like real quick, and he's not even stepped into a PFL cage yet? Does that not make you guys think that that would knock some of the luster off of him? Now, don't get me wrong. I respect the hell out of Ngannou for what he did. I respect him for the deal he was able to get with PFL and think it was great for him, and it's great for fellow fighters. But, I mean, man, I just feel like this is a hell of a risk by PFL.
Well, I mean, it's been the plan all along, though, right? So you could say that if it wasn't like that was like when they even announced that he had signed with them, it was like part of the initial terms, like, hey, I'm gonna keep looking for a damn boxing match, but just so you guys know, once that happens, if it happens, then I'll be with PFL. So in that sense, I understand what you're saying, though, with all their big signings and stuff losing. But the way that they do their season format, I think that it helps and it hurts. So it doesn't hurt as much in the long run as like normally it would a star losing, because next thing you know, you're paying attention to who beat the guy in the next part 2 of the season or whatever the case. But that being said, I'm very excited for the matchup. I'm glad it finally came to fruition. I genuinely was doubting it at this point if we were going to get any big boxing matchup from Francis before the end of the year rolled around. I mean, but here we are. Saudi Arabia forked over enough money to be able to get a fight like this going.
Look what they did with WWE. Are you surprised?
No, thanks for it. I'm not saying it in a bad way. I'm saying I'm clapping. I appreciate it, shit, because it didn't seem like we were getting something like this otherwise. So happy in that regard for Francis's career. I think he at least needs to make it look somewhat competitive, right? Like Conor lasted 8 rounds or some shit, 6 rounds or some shit. Looked competitive, had his moments throughout the fight. Enough where it was like, okay, he may have lost, but the judge stepped in. He didn't get knocked out. He wasn't down on his face or anything. You know, like if he looks competitive, if to your point, Kyle, if somehow, which I don't see happening, I think the first round will be a feel out. Maybe second or third is when you'll see somebody do something. But that being said, if it was a first down or a first round, face plant for Francis Ngannou, then it would be terrible for PFL. As of right now, if he just goes in there, puts on a good enough performance, and still ends up with the L, I don't think it'll be that big at the end of the day.
See,
what do you think, J-Bone?
As a owner of if I own this company, right, and I'm trying to make a name here, which they're starting to gain some momentum. I mean, Ngannou was a big signing. I'm putting that guy in the ring first. Like, go showcase and represent us. I don't care if it's a can out there. Go out there and do what you do, man. Because I mean, maybe I don't know the logistics and how that worked out, but was it maybe that PFL just never found him a proper fight before this, or was this like the plan all along was to get this fight done first, then do the PFL thing? I mean, I don't know what the case was.
I wouldn't be shocked that Ngannou said,
time.
I wanted the boxing fight before I do anything.
Yeah.
I'm just saying it was one thing to me when he was saying he wanted a boxing fight. But then when the boxing fight became Tyson Fury or Deontay Wilder, I'm like, oh, shit. I respect it. But again, look, man.
Well,
Francis Ngannou has as much chance as anyone to be able to knock somebody out. Not saying he doesn't. I have all the respect in the world for it. Hell, I've met the guy. He's as nice as can be. I'm just saying, though, like, you made this big contract and all that for PFL. That's the one thing that just sticks to me. Like,
you put him in there against a B level or even a C level boxer, though, and what happens if he loses that? Then it's way worse than him going in there.
I agree with that, but that's why I just feel like they should have got him in the cage first. Is all I'm saying.
I agree,
but at least if not, like,
there's so many variables with it.
You're not dipping your toes, bro. You're going in head first into the ocean here. You're not just.
And this is guaranteed money that they've given him. So whether he wins this fight, loses this fight, goes to be the boxing heavyweight champion of the world, he's got guaranteed money from PFL. So let's not forget that. So even if he does go out there and get knocked the fuck out, you still got to pay him.
I can't imagine it being a good night for him. That's all I'm going to say. We'll get the predictions sooner or later, I'm sure, but man, I can't.
I respect the hell out of it. Don't mistake me at all. But man, I just really
wonder. It's one of those matches that make me wonder because of the hitting power, the unorthodoxness of Francis Ngannou. Like he's going to throw some things that Tyson Fury has not seen a boxer at that level throw in probably 10, 15, 20 years, unless he's just in there training with MMA guys, and even at that, the shovel hook thing that he knocked out Alistair Overeem with here in Detroit, like that was that wasn't, that was an awkward angled, like, punch to the 10th degree, and that's what I mean. Like, there's still variables. I mean, yeah, punch for punch, skill for skill. Robert Whittaker would have won Saturday, but guess what? That's not how it always plays out. And sometimes, like the unexpected happens, and I feel like it's enough to make me interested. Do I think he's going to win? Probably not, but does it make me interested? Yeah, I feel like he poses at least a lot of variables that could be a huge problem if they land at any point, essentially. That being said, though, Tyson, sorry, but that being said, Tyson Fury has also had top tier boxers in his face while he's ducking and moving with his back pressed against the rope. So, I mean, and dodging and weaving all those shots. So it's going to be hard for Ngannou to hit him. But if he does,
I mean, that's why I said he's got the chance of knocking him out. And I don't mean that disrespectfully at all. I just, man, like I said, I guess that's what makes things interesting, man. It's because, like I said, to me, that's gonna be a hell of a thing for them to have to go with. Well, like I said, I think we all can agree here. We think that Tyson Fury is gonna win this shit.
They probably need to reinforce the ring because Jesus, it's a lot of dude in there, man.
You're not wrong, but I'm excited to see what happens. October 28th sounds like we're having a Halloween party. I say that's what we're doing. Cheapy Creepy Friday, the Halloween party on Saturday. We're doing all right.
Yeah, last year I had Jake Paul and I think Anderson Silva on my birthday, and this year I get Tyson Fury, Francis Ngannou the day before. So can't complain. It seems like boxing loves to work around my birthday though. So is what it is.
Super fights too, right?
Yeah, super fights.
Jake Paul Anderson Silva was a super fight, right? Am I right?
I mean,
and then not only that, talking about that Ngannou fight, that's totally overshadowed Nate and Jake Paul at this point.
Yeah.
I feel like that one's almost not flying under the radar, right? I feel like once we're a week out, 2 weeks out, it's going to start getting that hype train rolling again. But I feel like,
but it hasn't had the hype ahead of it. No,
we need more verbal sparring. That's what we're missing. We're missing the verbal stuff, man. And
we're missing the pro wrestling end of things, man. We're missing the pro wrestling end of things. And speaking of the pro wrestling end of things, man, shout out to Flophouse Wrestling. Flophouse is fuck. We are going to be one of the official sponsors August 4th, right before SummerSlam goes down Saturday at Ford Field, which we will be in the building for. Ring the fucking bell. We also will be there, no fucks given, with our homie Darren McCarty, who his band Grinder will also be performing there as well. So if you're looking for some shit to do SummerSlam weekend, Flophouse Wrestling, that's the place to be. Knockouts and 3 counts will be there. You've got the likes. There it is. He rang the bell. And we've got the likes of Matt Tremont are going to be on there. You got Schwartzy. You got Randy West. You got Tommy Vendetta. You got Danny DeMonto. You got a lot of people coming through this motherfucker. It's going to be a good time. I can't wait for SummerSlam to get in town. If you guys are coming to SummerSlam or checking out Flophouse or any of that, let us know in the comments. We will be there. And speaking of our guy, Darren McCarty, J-Bone, have you been checking out at all what we've been seeing in Impact Wrestling?
Man, anywhere D-Mac goes is gold, right? So the fact that he's on Impact, he's going to be the special guest referee at Slammiversary. That's huge news, man. Not to mention, we've seen everything with Bubba Ray. Like I said, anything he does turns to gold, if you ask me. That's our Yoda, pretty much. So I'm pumped to see that. That's this weekend, right?
Yeah, it's this weekend, this Saturday. But they've also had an opponent change. Remember, Bubba doesn't have Steve Macklin as his tag partner again. You've got him and Cody Deaner, courtesy of our guys at Busted Open, Dave LaGreca, all those guys. Slammiversary is going to get a little gnarly. I mean, Bubba's already put D-Mac through a table. I'm looking forward to asking him how he's feeling about that, how he's feeling about Flophouse and performing at Flophouse. I feel like SummerSlam weekend is going to be pretty badass.
Oh, dude. Biggest party in pro wrestling, bro. Come down and hang out with the boys and knockouts and 3 counts.
You heard? And stay tuned. I heard there might be a shirt that might encapsulate the ringing of the bell. One of those things. But with that being said, let's talk a little bit about wrestling before we go back to the UFC and talk UFC 290, which was by far, I would say, one of the best cards of 2023 so far. And I'm glad to actually be able to say that International Fight Week actually like lived up to the moniker International Fight Week for a change. But in the wrestling end of things, bro, the Bloodline has imploded. Hey, yo, Cody, we're talking the Bloodline imploding. How you feeling about that? J-Bone, what did you think about what we saw on Friday, bro?
Man, you know what? We've been talking about it for years, man. This is pro wrestling theater. And just like you said before we went on, dude, that was some soprano type shit when Roman got down on his knees. Pretty much he bowed to Jey Uso.
And creased his Jordans.
Shed a tear, you name it, bro. Put that man on the big screen. And then right when he's got your heart where he needs it, bam, the undefeated low blow. Just more theater, man. Another layer added on top of it. I'm curious to see how we get. I know how we're going to get to SummerSlam. I know the main event at SummerSlam, but there's so many other moving pieces in this, right? Solo, Heyman, you got Jimmy. I mean, there's just so much. And it all goes back, for me, it all goes back to I Told You So pretty much by Sami Zayn, right? So it's like you're finally getting to bring all this stuff together for like the final, quote unquote, final chapter of the movie that we've been watching for 3+ years now. And at SummerSlam, it's just going to come to a head, man. It's kind of one of those things. You hate to see it go, but you can't wait to see the end. You know what I mean?
They've been definitely building to this point for a long time. That's one thing you can definitely, say.
This has been by far the best story in pro wrestling. If I just had to there's so many, right? We could name tons and tons of pro wrestling stories, but if I just could grab one real fast, it would probably be the CM Punk John Cena Money in the Bank thing, the pipe bomb. You know what I mean? Like
that was dope.
If I could just grab one real quick, one that just like years from now, you'll be able to go back and say, "Oh yeah, I remember that because that was awesome." You know what I mean? So best story in wrestling in years, man. 4 years.
Are you guys surprised that they pulled the trigger now?
Yeah, part of that 20 is still in my dog's stomach, fucking asshole. But I got my $20. I appreciate the $20, sir. Thank you.
Hold on. Did your dog eat a $20 bill?
Yes. Cody threw in on the pay-per-view we were watching, and my dog fucking ate it off the table, and I didn't even see it.
That's funny. I'm sorry. Anyway,
look here, guy. I need dollars in my. Dude.
I'm only laughing because I know how your dog is now. Now that I finally get to meet your dogs.
Yeah, my house has always been a fucking zoo, but
I love it.
Yeah, man. I feel like we got a lot to look forward to going through coming into SummerSlam, both with the Bloodline stuff. I don't think Jay's gonna win, right? I really don't. But I feel like with the story element to it, though, man, the emotion in that fucker, I feel like with that many people in there and stuff like that, I hope it's some shit like it was over there, like we've seen in England and Puerto Rico and all that stuff, bro. Like it's gonna be interesting, bro. And I feel like eventually what's gonna end up happening is Solo is just gonna get tired of Roman shit, and then is gonna just side with his family. I feel like eventually, although he's already beaten the shit out of his family a few times now.
Right.
So
yeah, like we said, there's just so many ways to go with it, right? Like everything like could happen. This is as much as there's so much predictability in pro wrestling nowadays because we've been watching it for so long. This one is very unpredictable because Solo has grown into his own, and you could just tell by the crowd response from him that dude has grown so much since coming up to the main roster at Clash of the Castle. Was it just last year, right? How long ago was that? Last year? Something like that.
That was 6 months ago, maybe a year ago.
Look at the growth in the character and just him in the
All
ring.
Day. What up, no?
So
speaking of that, you might hear me and All Day coming to another mic your way September 30th. Lights out MMA.
If that's done for Solo, this story. Not to mention, you already got arguably the best tag team in the world in the Usos. What it's going to do for Jay at SummerSlam, like you said, I don't think he's going to win, but that match alone is going to do wonders for him, man, because we've already seen how well he can go. and this is going to take him to the next level. I'm just curious to see what happens after, because I'm seeing rumors that this is like the end, right? They're going to kind of go their separate ways. So what's next for Roman Reigns? What's next for the Usos? What's next for Solo? So.
Well, I think eventually the obvious is that Roman's eventually going to have to lose his title. Part of me really thinks it's going to be Solo that takes it off him, to be honest.
Really?
Yeah. If it's not going to be Cody, which as of now it doesn't seem like it. Think about that, dude. With all the back and forth there's been within the family and all that shit.
Yeah.
That would be like the ultimate fuck you, dude.
Yeah. I don't know. I just don't like, for us. It's like, who's next, right? Who's the next big star? And while these guys are
Cody agrees. Oh shit. I mean,
I think we could find our way back to Cody and Roman too, though. You know what I mean?
I agree. I think by WrestleMania we could get to that too. And quite frankly, if Cody's going to win the title, I'd rather it be him, man. But
and that's the thing. It's got to be at a WrestleMania. Cody ain't going to win it at Survivor Series or whatever like that. It's not.
Who's wrestling at SummerSlam? It looks like it's going to be main event Jey Uso versus Roman Reigns, and then you've got Cody versus Brock Lesnar, which I think that's going to be a banger. Cody said Solo's going solo.
I love to see it. He would dominate, man. He would dominate.
That guy's a fucking savage. That could be a
whole other angle. He could be sitting there like, all right, like in the mid-match, it's time to choose, right? And him just kind of say, screw both you guys, throw the belt in the middle, walk away, and just leave him for good. And that could be his breakaway moment. You know what I mean? There's just so many angles to go. We're watching a movie, man, and it's a good one. So we still got.
There's a lot of good shit to come at SummerSlam. I think Cody and Brock is going to be money. I feel like what we're seeing with the Judgment Day, Roman and Mysterio will be there. Hey, All Day's going to be in the building too, man. You got to bring the little guy through Flophouse on Friday as well, man. It's going to be nasty. We were talking about that a little earlier. Our guy Darren McCarty's going to be there as well as one of the sponsors. No fucks given. It's going to be a good time, man. I agree, dude, but I think Brock versus Cody could be one of the ones that really steal shit, dude, because I feel like they're going to beat the shit out of each other. I mean, some of the beatdowns that Brock has put on Cody, dude, have been pretty heinous, but then again, Cody's beating the shit out of Brock, too.
Sure.
So
it's the third one, right? The second one?
Yeah, this is the rubber match. Now, can we just talk about how many people didn't know what a rubber match was? Holy shit.
That's only because he used the word on Raw. Everybody's like, what? The what?
Dude.
What's this new match called Rubber?
Come on now. What up, though? Chris checking in from across the country. Appreciate you. But like I said, it's yeah, man, it's gonna be a good time. SummerSlam is gonna be a good time. I was there a couple years ago at SummerSlam in Vegas. It's a lot like a WrestleMania. Plus, it's so dope to be there again in Ford Field after it being almost 20 years again since the last one. The last one being in Ford Field was 2007. So it was 16 years ago. So I'm looking forward to having the biggest party of the summer here in Detroit. Stay tuned. We definitely are going to have our hands in some things. Like I said, we are the sponsors of Flophouse, No Fucks Given. With that being said, though, this weekend had one hell of a way for it to go out, and I won some money. But with that being said, UFC 290, it was pretty dope. Before we get to the main card, shout out to the Ruthless One, Robbie Lawler, going out like a G, just going straight across the octagon. Whop, 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 wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. And I was $50 richer. So, what are your thoughts on the last swan song, at least for now, for the Ruthless One, Robbie Lawler?
I mean, I can't believe he did Nico Price so dirty. I can't believe Nico Price just went in there and is like, hey, bud, I'm so glad you're retiring. I'm going to give you this hand around the back and just kind of pat you a couple times while you fucking throw these uppercuts and knock me the fuck out. But because that's what I seen happen in about 38 seconds, and it was rather entertaining. I'll say that. And shout out fucking Robbie Lawler, man. What a guy! What a career to have end in that way. I love the way that the UFC did the little video piece and stuff.
Oh man,
A little risky because we didn't know how that fight may have ended
You
up
probably
going,
had
but
it just in case either way. You just, I mean, either
Well,
way,
I-
whether he
you
would have
know-
won or lost, the guy's still been a G in the UFC. So
Oh yeah, they would have still interviewed him as long as he would have been able to make some words come together, But that being said, thank God we didn't see that. We ended up seeing him get his hand raised in a first round knockout fashion. You could see the man of very few words. He doesn't seem like the type that loves to talk in front of camera and stuff. He broke down and cried in front of the whole, in the octagon in front of all the crowd and everything. And you could just see how much it meant to him. And to see somebody like that, a legend of the game, go out, not only on their terms where it's like, oh, I picked the fight, I did what I did, but to actually come out victorious with the first round fucking knockout, it doesn't get any better, especially for somebody like Robbie Lawler.
took no damage, just went out there and just got it out of the way, man. But that video was something amazing. That was one of those, I'm not crying, you're crying moments type of things. They really put that together well, man. I was like, oh wow, that's cool to see. But yeah, what a performance, dude. What was it, 38 seconds, right?
Yeah, I believe so.
Man.
hey man, if you was going in for your last fight, there ain't a much better way to just get in, get out. Wham bam, thank you, ma'am. Give me my check. Give me 2 checks. Call me 2-check Robbie out here. I like it, man. I like it. It was a great way
Probably
to go
a
into the
fat
main
performance bonus too. With
Oh
that
shit, he had to have, bro. Dana definitely had to give him one of them backroom bonuses, bro.
I didn't see who got the bonuses. Was that a thing? Did they give him a bonus?
I'm sure.
I'll look it up right now.
Even if it wasn't one of the official ones, you go out there and do that right before the pay-per-view starts. You get to lead the pay-per-view with those type of emotions. People want to see the continuance of that night after something like that. That's for sure.
Yeah.
All right, I got it pulled up here. Looking for the final thing. I hate when there's all this extra stuff. Just tell me what I was looking for. You guys can. What's your thoughts on Bo Nickal? Bo Nickal was what I wanted to talk about next, man, because we had another nasty performance from him.
It's crazy, Corey. Now
I got it right here. Fight of the night was Pantoja versus Brandon Moreno, 50,000 apiece. Performance of the night, Denise Gomez got that. The other performance of the night was Duplessis.
I'm sure he got something in the back, even if it's not
for
enough.
sure.
Yeah, I'm sure he did. But what were you gonna say?
Yeah, I'm looking at the fight card now, and knockout, 38 seconds, right? That's the main event of the ABC prelim fight card.
Mm-hmm.
Bo Nickal comes out and says, "Hey, I'm gonna match you up here." He knocks his dude out in 38 seconds, same exact time.
It's a double up on 38.
Double up on 38 seconds. That's pretty wild to me.
Hey, my man that got in there with Bo was throwing hands, but bro,
my thought, I was just gonna say, my thought on that, honestly, didn't go like I thought. I thought Bo was gonna come out and just wrestle him to death, literally to death, and just smother him and take him out. But hey, dude came out, was trying to throw some bombs with Bo, man, and he got caught, and that's just pretty much what it was. They went out there and scrapped real quick, and Bo just caught him. But man, what his potential?
That uppercut was nasty, dog.
His potential, dude. If he can mix his boxing and his wrestling like that, look out for that guy, because that dude's going to be riding the rocket to the top of the division.
Yeah, his upper bound limit, I think, it's hard to even know potentially where it's at, right? Like I said, leading into this fight, I hope he doesn't just get a knockout and now becomes just fucking Justin Gaethje. I highly doubt it. But,
oh, hell no.
Here we are with the knockout phase. But that being said, them hands were clean.
I
man.
mean,
He
I was
didn't
going to
get
say he
hit.
kept him at the end of his punches. My man was nowhere
Yep.
near hitting his chin. I mean, as a coach, you couldn't have really asked for much more of that. Drew, I mean, if you're still in here watching, bro, what'd you think of the knockout for Bo Nickal? You know, and hey, shout out to last week's guest, AVZ, you know, the Starbucks superstar. He said Bo Nickal was the one that he was looking for. He was wearing a Bo Nickal shirt before UFC 290. And then look what he does. So I wish I would have thrown him in by knockout in there and we would have been all right. But with that being said, let's talk a little bit about this main card, dude. I would definitely say, like I said, leading into it, I think that the card lived up to the hype on it. What'd you think about I mean, where do you want to start on this main card?
Well, before we even start, because I mean, we already did start, I guess, with the Bo Nickal thing. But before we dig too much further, I want to ask you guys, what was your
Torre,
most
what up,
impressive-
Doe? Check out some of his music on that new AEW Fight Forever video game, which, just for any of you guys who checked out that first maiden voyage on the stream thing, I finally figured the shit out to where we can hear the game. So, you know, stay tuned maybe tomorrow night after AEW Dynamite goes off the air. We're going to have round 2 of Knockouts and 3 count stream. Go ahead.
Yeah, but that being said, what was your guys' either most impressive performance or fight in general? What stood out to you at the end of the night? What was your memory left behind? There was a ton of them, but what was the one that stood out
for
to
me,
you guys?
dude?
Well,
For me,
go ahead.
it was like I had to go in steps because when that Dan Hooker and Jalen Turner fight happened, I was like, dude, this is great. Fight of the night, right? This is it right here.
Yeah.
And then you know the Whitaker and the Plessis thing, I was like, oh man, this is a good fight. And then Pantoja Moreno, I'm like, dude, like my brain's gonna blow up here. And then you got the minute. It was all just great fight, top to bottom. That potentially has card of the year candidate. You know what I mean? So,
well, I mean,
but
that's
at
out
the very
and
end-
on its own. Maybe the only one close to it's the one that had Volk and Makachev on it.
Yeah. But at the very end, I mean, look at Dan Hooker, man. Dan Hooker had
That was a fucking fight, dude.
Dog came out with blonde hair, turned it into fire red hair. You know what I mean? And banged the whole fight, man. Sticks out for me.
Yeah,
man.
What about you, Kyle?
I think, as far as an overall performance, to me, it's Volk. Like, I mean, to me, he just showed dominance to be able to go right back down to 45 and not just win against Jair, but beat him up.
Yeah,
Like,
didn't even blink.
No, dude, he beat him up and then right back to the mission that he's been talking about, wanting to fight Islam again and all that. I think as far as most impressive performance, that would be it for me. That said, though, dude, that Pantoja Moreno fight was a fucking banger. Like J-Bone said, that Jalen Turner and Hangman Hooker, like, dude, that was a banger in and of itself. The way that Jalen Turner was socking the hell out of Hooker and then Hooker to just turn it back around like that, it just makes you wonder. You know, Jalen Turner's had trouble with his weight a couple times now. He was 3 pounds overweight here and got tired late in the fight, man. But damn, you got to wonder how much that weight cut really affected him. But damn, they beat the hell out of each other.
Yeah, being as lengthy as he is, I would almost like to see him maybe think about a future at 170. I feel like if he bulked up a little bit, Jalen Turner would be a beast at 170. But that being said, yeah, man, I agree with all your points. I feel like those are all kind of like that's the majority thought. But for me, man, I don't know if it's just because I was such a big Robert Whitaker fan or what, but what DDP.
Drake is too pussies.
Yeah.
It's called
I ain't DDP, damn it. That's Diamond Dallas Page. Hey, we interviewed
he's
Diamond
DDP.
Dallas Page. Make sure you hit
He's
that
the
button.
MMA DDP. And that being
Does he
said,
know how to do a diamond cutter? All right.
Nobody knows how to fucking knock out a Reaper. So, you know, that's apparently.
But he's got to know how to do a diamond cutter or he can't be DDP.
But that being said, that one, man, that like left an impression on me. And I felt like we were talking about it, Kyle. We were sitting there on the same couch kind of bullshitting. And I'm like, man, this one makes me worried because everybody's talking about, this is a run through for Whitaker. This is just a bump in the road to get to the title shot. All he has to do is, go out there. And then Dricus really seemed like he leveled up in this fight. I don't know if Robert was just not performing at his true level that night or what the case was, but man,
I don't know that I feel like it was even that Whitaker wasn't performing at his top level, because in the first round, dude, he was looking good, and then I just feel
he got
like
taken down with that like soft sweep takedown. And that soft sweep really kind of was like, well, damn, come on, man, you're supposed to be like.
Well, I don't. For me, it wasn't even
sure. Stuff,
Sure. I mean, he's known for his wrestling, but at the same time, I feel like Duplessis just kind of bowled his way through. He just kind of
he was a lot bigger than him, man. He was a lot bigger.
That's a tough loss though for Whitaker though, because now he was pretty much, everybody was saying that he was like the number one, basically there sitting for Izzy. I'm gonna be honest with you, bro. I wouldn't be shocked if Whitaker ends up fighting Bo Nickal next.
I mean, that would be a wild one. If you talk about jumping up, that would be
I mean, pretty soon you're gonna have to give Nickal a step up.
I'm here for it though. That'd be fun.
It's just like, I mean, really, what do you do with Robert Whitaker, right? I mean, like we talked about the other day, he's beaten everybody who isn't Izzy and now Duplessis. So it's like he's got to go to another weight class. So you're gonna give him some kind of big main event fight on a fight night? Like, what do you really do?
That's what I think is a big fight night. I heard the name Strickland thrown around. I'm like, that's.
I could see that. That's not a bad fight. And I mean, Strickland just had a good win too. I'm not mad at that.
Yeah, but either way, that one individual wise was my my standout moment. But yeah, fight wise, that Brandon Moreno Pantoja fight, championship level, had so much stuff on it. It left a huge impression, but it was overshadowed by the umbrella that was Dan Hooker and Jalen Turner. That fight was wild.
Yeah.
Dan Hooker at the end telling the ref, "Hey, if you raise my arm, do it softly because I'm pretty sure it's broke." And then Joe Rogan asking him about it, and he's like, "Oh, that's just a scratch." It's just the way, and man, the heart that was shown in that fight to, be able to go out there. From what he's saying, he's pretty sure it happened about midway in the second round. So he went through a round and a half, was throwing that thing the whole time.
Adrenaline's a hell of a drug, dude.
Apparently, and he was saying towards the end of the third, he lost all feeling in his hand, and that's why he went for the takedown and used the last minute and a half, 2 minutes or whatever as ground control, which makes that even that much more impressive that he was able to get a takedown and then control him while basically doing it with. He said he was doing it with his elbow of the broken arm, so he was like, trying to keep the forearm out of the way and just use the elbow. I'm like, man,
he's a dog,
built
man.
Different. Dan Hooker's one of them guys built a little different, and that performance showed that. And for everybody who was saying maybe he's on the downslope of his career, he doesn't have those wars left in him and stuff like that. Apparently they were wrong. Yeah.
Surprise, right?
Yeah, surprise.
I don't know, man. It was a pretty good weekend. It was a good time having everybody through, watching the fights.
I want to ask you guys
go ahead.
Opinion real quick on. So we did, after the Whitaker Duplessis fight, we seen Izzy get in there and have some choice words for Duplessis. What do you guys think of it? I mean, for me, I'll just go right into. I'm not one for bringing people's country and their just all that. I don't like that stuff in my MMA, to be honest, because it just doesn't matter. But
it's already a fight. It doesn't need to be a.
It's already a fight. It's going to be a good fight. It's going to be a great fight, and that's got a lot. It's got a lot riding on it, man. And I just feel like all the other stuff, and we all know what we're talking about here, just doesn't need to be on our MMA. If that makes sense.
I just as as a viewer, I'm glad that I have girls, because if I would have had boys, they probably would have been sitting there with me watching the fight and asking me what the hell. A, B, I just, as a champion, man, you got to hold yourself better. And then he kind of doubled down. I don't know if you guys seen that on his Twitter. And he was like, well, the reason why I said he was a blank is because he can't say that. And that's what makes us different. And that's why and I'm like, you can't you realize with all the backlash that's going on, just to like leave it alone, instead he was doubling down on it. And it's just, I don't know,
So,
man. Like you
I
said,
agree
Jordan,
with you, but here's the other thing, though. When you know the backstory to why a lot of that's there between, like, in that country and stuff, like, I can also understand where some of that comes from, because Duplessis had already been kind of throwing some of that shit, before we got to that point. So it wasn't like that was just something where he got in the cage and
right. Oh yeah, no, I'm sure it was already.
Yeah, so there was already shit ahead of time. Well, and I mean, I'm not saying that it's the right place for it or any of that kind of stuff. But all I'm saying is some of that, I mean, we may not agree with it or understand it as much over here, but that's some shit that's like up over there. But
as a white guy myself, I don't want to go on this train of defending Drickus, but I feel like what he was saying was the like the lineage of him living there and stuff. That I don't feel like he was bringing race into that, and then for it to be brought then to the TV, like it's one thing if things were said behind closed doors, they're about to. They ran into each other and media caught it and now it's on Twitter and stuff. But that was part of your pay-per-view production, that everybody that paid $80 plus to watch that fight.
And there's nothing wrong with Izzy standing up for his beliefs in his country. That you have every right to do that. It's just, for me personally, I just don't like to see that kind of confrontation in a professional sport. You know what I mean? I just don't like it that way. Have bad blood. Tell each other you hate each other. I'm going to knock your head off. I'm going to fuck you up. I just don't want to see all that other stuff in there, man, because I don't feel like it brings a good light to things. Like I said, have your opinion, be proud of it. But some of the stuff just doesn't need to be there for people to open up more doors to more hate in a sense of that. You know what I mean? If that makes sense.
And I feel like Ariel Helwani had a good point on it. He said, like, basically, even beyond just their feud and what they're talking about and stuff, it has major ramifications, like, over there, like if something, God forbid, something was to happen to somebody or something, and it'd be racially fueled because they seen this, take place on, the UFC pay-per-view. So they find it, offensive. So they want to attack back or some shit. I feel like it, like you say, it just welcomes in more bad than it does good. If you want to have a discussion where you're heated, and there's better ways he could have went about it, is really what I feel like. He could have went a million different better ways about it, but to go on there and just be like, this and that,
all bullshit aside, though, all negativity aside, all that other craziness aside, that's gonna be a hell of a fight, man. I'm looking forward to that. That is gonna be a hell of a fight.
Yeah, I wonder, man. It's gonna. Hopefully that stuff dies down a little bit, but man, talk about a fight with that we've had a bit of a lead up to now at this point, and I hope the talks die down. But either way,
it's gonna be a good one.
These boys have put themselves in a major spot. Both of them really. It's craziness.
Next one though, the dude, Pantoja Moreno is if you take a blank canvas and you say, I need you to show me a UFC caliber championship fight, you're putting Pantoja and Moreno up on that canvas, dude, because that was a knockdown, drag out war for the gold. That was something special, man.
Yeah, I love that fight, man. That was such a bang 'em up, drag 'em out fight, like big time, man.
Yeah.
It was wild to see Pantoja severely hurt Moreno in the first round, to then look like he was gassed in the second, looked like he was about to be finished from Moreno, and then from every point on, he caught his second win in the third, which his second win ended up being 3 rounds longer than his first win, which don't know how that works, but either way, that's how it happened. And he was able. Pantoja was taking some shots. He was definitely got a couple serious moments where he was getting punched up a little bit, but every single time he'd get a takedown, and he'd end up with top control. He'd end up threatening, and he'd end up landing some elbows and stuff of his own. And that's where, sitting back and watching it with a couple friends and stuff with Kyle, we were all kind of like, man, that Moreno did really good that round, but I feel like it was Pantoja because of the fact that he was able to secure the takedown. He had his own strikes in there, and it ultimately ends up going to him because of the fact that, it's an MMA round.
Right.
And that being said, man, it truly was. I like that example of how you say, like, write me out what paint me a picture of your ideal, because it really was an ideal title fight. But man, shout out Pantoja. I'm happy for him. I was a huge Brandon Moreno fan going into the night, less so of Pantoja, and now I feel like I'm not quite on equal footing because I'm not as familiar with him, but his backstory and stuff he was able to share on, with his mic time and stuff like that. Pantoja has a chance to be one of those guys, I feel like, in MMA. But that being said, what direction do you guys go with the 125ers after that?
I tried to think about that earlier. I really don't know. It's hard to say. I mean, but look at Moreno, dude. So this guy, he's had 3 different opponents in his past 6 fights, right? Something like that.
All of which were title bouts. All
title fights, and they've all been banger fights, man. Every single fight, all the ones with Figueiredo. This one, it's just amazing fights. So it's like he has to readjust. And where does he go from here? Because now his next fight, unless they give him an instant rematch, his next fight mostly isn't going to be a 5-round fight for the title, at least. So he's got to go back to the drawing board, man, and come back strong. I don't know where he goes from here.
Yeah,
you got Kai Kara France coming up too, man. So I feel like you got Kai Kara France. You got a couple other names. 125
is really the one
I was about to get to that. But my point was, there's actual names at 125 now. It's not like we're at a spot like we were with Mighty Mouse, where it was pretty much like there was him and then there was the rest of the division. Not to mention, again, with Moreno losing by decision, I don't think he's going to go that far back either. So ultimately, I think there's a lot of options there at 125. Plus, who knows what's going to actually end up happening with Figueiredo too. So I don't know, man.
It's in there in that top 5. I can't really. Royval's in there, right? Royval's in the top 5 still, right? I believe.
Yeah. Royval, in my
Royval's
opinion,
coming up and's up next in the next couple for sure.
Yeah, it's either run it back with Moreno, the guy that got the controversial decision over Kai Kara France, Amir El-Bazzi, or you run it. I said that with Moreno already, or Brandon Royval. Those are my 3 options. I feel like Royval has a loss to Pantoja, but now Moreno has 3 losses to Pantoja. So as entertaining as that fight was, I feel like you got to get Moreno at least one more solid win. So I feel like you put Moreno against either Kai Kara France or El-Bazzi, being that he had fairly recently beat Kai Kara France, being like a year and a half, 2 years ago now. Probably El-Bazzi, but it at least we have some we have some entertaining matchups to come. That's for sure.
I mean, you really
Like
can't
you
leave
said,
Figueiredo
Carl.
out because he's only fought
Well,
Moreno, right?
He's matched up. He's matched up right now.
Okay.
He's already been matched once at 35, and then said, "Oh, I'm actually going to go back to 25." Well, now he is matched up again at 35, but I think he likes this matchup more. So we'll see, because he's now matched up with Dominic Cruz. So I love that fight, but we'll see what kind of happens with that. So just to get some preference on that one.
Preference is which one you like better.
Preference.
Let's throw them all in there.
Not preference. Preference. I said it wrong. Preface.
There you go. But with that being said, man, there was a lot to talk about. We got a lot to talk about this Thursday, like I said, but there's a little bit of a time change. We're going to be live at 10 p.m. with our homie D-Mac, Darren McCarty, talking about Flop Houses. Fuck! With our guy D-Mac and his band Grinder performing there as well. And with Tommy Vendetta being around, Darren will be somewhere near the corner for that one. And then, we got to talk about Slammiversary. He got put through a table by Bubba Dudley, and he just keeps going back for more. It's going to be Bubba Dudley and Cody Deaner versus Scott D'Amore and our guy PCO, which you can check out interviews with him as well. Check out the link in the bio. Make sure you subscribe if you're new here. Again, if you're coming out to SummerSlam, make sure you check out Flophouse August 4th, the Friday before SummerSlam. And again, ring the bell. We will be in the building for SummerSlam. So until next time, in the in-between time, shout out to Potter's Tree Service, G3 Payroll and Tax, all those good things. Ding, dang, that means it's the end of the round, end of the show. Fuck your couch, time to go. Peace.